So earlier this December, we flew to Fiji via Sydney, and even though it is difficult traveling in COVID times, it was still a good experience. We did have to get our PCR test done, which we did in Sydney, and we stayed at the Port Denrau Island. And the good thing about it is this island was CFC approved, and I'll tell you what that means later on. So we stayed at Radisson Blu, which was a great resort, and we were a big fan. You were welcomed really warmly. Hola! That is exactly the kind of welcome you need when you travel after 2 years, and we're so glad that we got that. We booked our trip through Travel Online, which was a flight and resort package. So we booked our resort through that, and it wasn't disappointing at all. The experience was really smooth. The resort was really good. I loved how many zones it had and how many activities it had for the kids. There was this little pool with a swim up bar. You could swim and order your drinks while in the water. That was such a fun part. This was also one of the restaurants where you could go in for a buffet breakfast in the morning. We went in all 7 days of our stay, have freshly cooked eggs, anything and everything was all fresh and served perfectly. The kids had this really good pool and slide where they played most of the time, and I think that was the highlight of the trip for them. Also this kids club where you could leave your kids with the staff, and the resort also had some great restaurants when this was a Lebanese one. Now more on CFC, which meant Care Fiji Commitment, kind of like a COVID safe place. So all of these places which were CFC approved, you could go out there, you didn't need to quarantine at your hotel, and most of Port Denrau Island was CFC approved, so we didn't have a hard time at all. We also visited the fruit and vegetable market one day. It reminded me of the Sunday bazaars back in Pakistan, and the local markets in the Nadi city were also quite similar. I would highly suggest if you visit Fiji to go check out the local markets and buy from them. Then we also visited this temple, which was again in Nadi. It was a piece of art. It is one of the oldest temples in Fiji, and it is one of the largest temples in Pacific. We then stopped at this restaurant for lunch called Masala Twist, and it was really good. On the same day, we went to the Sabeto Mud Pools, where you cover your body with this mud that has sulfur in it, and it's really beneficial for your skin, and then you dip in the hot water springs to rinse it off. Next day, we went on our scuba diving adventure. We booked our scuba diving through White Tip Marine Adventures, and even though the boat was really small, but the staff was really professional, friendly, and helpful, me and Alia enjoyed our ride to the diving spot and had a lot of fun on our way. Our diving instructor then helped us through the process, guided us, and walked us through what we were going to expect and all the things that we needed to know before we went in and dived into the ocean. This was one of my bucket list items, and I was so excited to try this out. For scuba diving, even if you don't know swimming, you will still do well because the weights help you stay underwater and the instructor controls the buoyancy and everything else. The only thing that you need is to not be afraid of the water and basically just trust the process. This was the single most amazing experience of my life, and I would suggest any and everyone should do this once in a lifetime because the life under sea is amazing. After that experience of a lifetime, we came back to our resort where there was a party organized for all the guests by the manager. It was on their sunset desk, and they had a fire lighting ceremony where they lit up all the fire torches, I guess, and even had some dances. All in all, it was a night to remember and a spectacular show. The next day we decided to discover a local village of Nivua, and it was a 3-hour drive from where we were staying. We booked this tour through Discover Fiji Tours. The good thing was that there was a travel desk at the Radisson Blu resort where you could book your tours from. So for this tour we reached the village and then we took these little boats. We traveled in a group. There were around 5 or 6 people in our group, and then we were split into 2. Through the boat we reached this waterfall. The walk to the waterfall wasn't hard. It was a nice smooth walk, just a bit tricky on the edges though. We had to carry all our stuff in these garbage bags so it didn't get wet while we were traveling in the boat. And then we reached the waterfall. It was such a refreshing little spot, and after that hot hike it was so worth it. Yeah, try not to jump off unless you're a strong swimmer because it may look shallow, but some parts were quite deep. Then on our way back, we went on these little bamboo rafts. This used to be the means of transportation back in the day, so just to give us a bit of a feel, we took a little ride in these. When we reached the village back, our guide explained us the importance of kava ceremony.
About a week or so. So once the roots and the stems are dried, then we use a metal pounding bowl. The roots and the stems are thrust inside, then a long metal pistol is used. We pound the kava till it turns into powder. In its powdered form, today you will witness that we're using a simple piece of muslin cloth.
Bula. We then saw some traditional dances, which were the war dances, and also got to join in on a few of them, which was the best part. We were then treated to this beautiful meal of Laavo, which is meat cooked underground, and a Fijian chicken curry with some local crop of taro and taro leaves. All the food was halal. And then we were shown some activities of the village people that they have been doing for the longest time, such as basket making, which was the way they would carry crop from one place to the other. We were shown some local artwork using ink from the mulberry trees. And then we were said goodbye in this really beautiful way with the song. The next day we went on a cruise through Captain Cook Cruises. The boat was really good and we were served refreshments as soon as we got on board. We wanted to reach the Nivua Island, and it was around, I think, over an hour that it took us to reach the island, but the ride itself was actually really entertaining. There were quite a lot of activities planned for us at the island by the cruise company, even though the island itself was gorgeous with these aquamarine waters and the beautiful white sand, but the activities were equally marvelous. There was glass bottom boat rides, there was kayaking, paddling, you could swim in the ocean, there was lunch served to us as well by the cruise company. But the activity that we were most interested in was snorkeling. I was quite excited because it was going to be the first time the kids would go snorkeling, and even though we had little issues with Alia, but overall it went really well and Shanze was really impressed. Ended the night with this delicious Mexican dinner from Mama Sita's, which was right next to our resort. And one of the most asked questions was how easy it is to find halal food in Fiji, and I would say pretty easy. And just like that, it was time to fly back home. We had to get our COVID tests done prior to travel. The good thing was we could get them done at the resort, which we did, and got our results within 24 hours. And then we headed back home to Sydney with lots of memories. Do let me know if you have any other questions and comments.